So welcome. I'd like to introduce Rachel Ragsdale today. And Rachel is the founder and owner of Braincode Centers. She studied psychology at Baylor University, where she earned her undergraduate degree. And then she went on to earn her master's in clinical mental health counseling from Denver Seminary. Rachel is very passionate about the mission of Braincode Centers and hopes everyone has the opportunity to learn about the power of creating a resilient brain. Rachel's own life was transformed by neurofeedback more than 11 years ago, and she has a unique insight and personally values each and every client's unique journey thanks to her own experience with neurofeedback. So welcome today, Rachel. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
Yes, thanks for having me, Hilary. It's an honor.
Yes, so can you tell us a little bit about your journey and what led you to creating your own business, and just a little bit about the nature of the work you do and maybe what neurofeedback is and what types of clinics you have and the people you serve?
Yeah, I mean, my clinical background more so came from, well, I knew that I wanted to be a neurofeedback therapist through having an experience myself as a patient at another clinic over a decade ago. And so I had no clue how I would get into the business. Neurofeedback is obviously a very niche market, but after my undergrad, I came back, got into grad school, and then I found an internship, which is where I kind of learned everything through the doctor that I was working with. And it was kind of under her where I launched my business ability per se, but it came very organically. I just was so passionate about spreading the word of neuro and spreading the word of hope through this program that, you know, people just started flooding in and people would get better and then they would go tell people. So I sort of I kind of blew up her practice at this one specific location. And so after her and I had some conversation, she thought it would be best that I spread my wings and leave the nest and kind of do my own thing, and had no clue what that looked like. And there's been a lot of learning curves since then. But yeah, the field of neurofeedback is essentially in the mental health field. It's a form of counseling, but it takes more of the science and cutting edge approach to the therapy. So we obviously are working with people spanning anything from anxiety and depression all the way over to concussion and trauma and attachment issues. But yeah, I love it. I think it's a fantastic field. I definitely think a lot more people are starting to hear about neuro and biohacking and just all the different cutting edge ways to address mental health these days. I know like you're into a lot of your own niche type work as well. And ketamine and different approaches are just starting to be the new thing. People want more than just to sit across from somebody now, especially with just the different climate and culture of the world. People just want more. They want more than just the interaction if they are able to.
Yes, I love this. And what I love too is that you started in your internship and then you said you kind of grew the internship position just because of your own passion. And then you were encouraged to just spread your wings and fly and go out on your own. And I think you said you didn't really know what you were doing, but you did it. You trusted and you jumped and you took the leap, and now and I can tell in your voice it's a passion. It's not just a job, it's a true passion, but that led you to creating your own business. That's wonderful.
Yeah, no, I mean, Hilary and I, for anybody that's listening, we went to the same graduate program, and it is the cliche joke. They don't teach anybody business yet. For the most part, a lot of people go out and start some sort of private practice as counselors. And if that doesn't go very well, then they go, you know, be in some sort of bigger institution and sometimes, you know, run the risk of burnout. And so, yeah, there needs to be some sort of way that the business side of things can be coupled along with the passion, which is why people get into this field anyways. And so thankfully I had a lot of business mentors. I sought out a lot of coaching myself to lead me to where I was, or else there's so many different times I would have crashed and burned all over myself. So
yes, and you've built an amazing business, and one that I am so inspired by, your business model. And how many? So I know you have your clinics. How many clinics do you have? How many staff do you have? It's been, and we've been friends for years, and we kind of knew each other at the start, and it's just been wonderful to watch it grow. But where are you at in terms of locations and staff? I know with COVID, there's been a little bit of shifting, but
yeah,
you're managing so many people and you do it really well. But what does that look like for you?
yeah, I'm sure anybody listening, you know, if you have any staff members, there's some days where you just feel like you're killing it and crushing it. And then other days I'm like, anybody want to buy brain codes? Because I'm out. But no, it really is a blessing. We did the just immature business owner mistake. We grew too fast, too quick. I think at one point, my business partner and I, Carly, had 11 locations, and that was within a year.
Wow.
Yeah, so we were thinking, you know, the nature of our work is people oftentimes will come multiple times a week in the beginning of their therapy. So why not make it super accessible for everybody and, you know, have spaces within 10 miles of one another? So probably not the smartest idea that we ever had. But it was such an amazing learning curve. I love thinking big and doing risky things. And so I'm pretty sure we would have opened up 11 at some point or another. You know, since then, we've learned that that's not how we want the business model right now. So to answer your question, right now we have 3 main facilities. So we took some of the outskirted ones and condensed our clientele to 3. But then we are also partnered and aligned with 4 other companies. So we have locations inside of other companies, and then we do have a location in Dallas that we are partnered up with somebody else in that area. Her name's Kim. She's fantastic. So yeah, we definitely plan to scale, but what we are doing now, our strategy is doing it significantly slower and more methodical, and thinking through things and dialing in our P&Ls and understanding overhead, all of the things that we absolutely had zero clue when we had 11 locations. So
Wow, I love this. It's almost like when we start, there's this rush and we grow and we hit these metrics and we just want to keep going. But sometimes the best growth comes with being slow and being steady and having few things that you can really dial all of your energy into. That's great.
amen. That's very well put.
And I love your transparency too, that you're able to laugh with yourself and say like, wow, we did 11 and that was a mistake. But that's the piece of being an entrepreneur. We try things and we learn and we make mistakes, and we can have so much love and compassion for the mistakes, because that's how we learn.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
Yes. So what else do you think helped you to learn how to manage a practice, build businesses? You said that you sought out your own coaching, but how else did you learn? Because not only did you build a practice, you built a successful practice and you're growing and you're scaling it. And you didn't have any formal education. So what else helped you in the process of growing your business?
Yeah, I would say failing every single time we did something and it didn't work and we got constructive criticism. We were very coachable. So I feel like I have a pretty coachable attitude, while I can be very hard-headed and stubborn, and you know, I think my way is the best way sometimes. At the end of the day, I do have a heart that is coachable, and I'm willing to look at my perceived failures and then figure out strategies and solutions to change the methodology or the approach or the way that we go about things. So definitely, I just think the attitude and the heart behind it. But truly, like I'd say, a large amount of the credibility would be to the coaches that we had, the people that were willing to pour into us. But also the credit to myself and Carly that we were willing to go seek that out. I think a lot of people aren't willing to go seek it out or ask for help or invest in their own help. You know, we were very blessed that for some reason or another, you know, there were people put in our lives that just gave back. They saw a genuine hunger and desire to succeed and to have impact in this world from other people, and therefore they were willing to give back to us. A lot of people, they might not have it handed to them like that, but there's so many different ways that you can actually invest in your coaching and invest in the business side of things. And so there's no reason that like your number one investment should be in that coaching if you do not have that skill set. And I think too many people, especially private practice, you stay stagnant because the fear of investing, or the fear of, you know, God forbid you pay somebody, you know, however much a month to learn from. And that can be a scary thing when, you know, your practice might not be as fluid as you're wanting it to, or as financially successful as you're wanting it to. But that very fear is the very thing that's going to keep you where you are.
Right. So seeing the fear and leaning into it and being open to change and having fluidity and getting out of the rigidities, which is interesting because I know that's something you work with your some of the neurofeedback protocols, is to enhance fluidity and you help clients get out of some of the rigidities and kind of closed-minded thinking and create more openness. So I love that. Thanks for sharing that too. And it sounds like too, you're willing to be vulnerable with your business partner when you're with your coaches and open up to some of your own ways that weren't working, or your own, I don't know if deficits is the right word, but your own areas that you needed growth, and you were able and willing to receive feedback.
Yes. Yes. I think too, as a growing company, you know, if you have a private practice, let's say you're in the mental health industry, and you're that classic story of, well, I don't know what to do because my practice is as full as I want it to be, but I still get a lot of inquiries, and I don't know if I should hire somebody or what. I think one of the number one things I've learned is I'm always going to think that I am the end all be all. I'm the best therapist. I'm the best neurofeedback therapist. No one will ever be able to do it like me. And that's something that I've really had to learn to put to its grave, because it's not reality. And there's no way with that mindset you will ever be able to grow. You will always have this like sense of frustration or lack of control, or, oh gosh, well, I wouldn't have done it that way. And if I had control over it, well, this would have been the end result. And so I think that sometimes happens to us, especially in the counseling field, is we have this very narrow mind of like, well, I have to do all the counseling. I'm the one with the most experience, but you're only going to be able to make small impact then on those 20 people a week that you see, or what have you. And you're just going to watch business go elsewhere, and then you have no control over that person at that point, because you don't know the other counseling facility that they may have chose. So definitely putting that ego to the grave is, I think, super important if people are wanting to scale and get bigger and feel led and called to do so.
Wow. It's almost like you try to clone yourself and make yourself more obsolete so that you can train other people and grow, because if you try to handle everything, that's what leads to burnout too, because you try to do everything and you can't. So I love that too.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. And I think you and I have talked about it, and I'm starting to do a lot of work with the feminine and some of the feminine intelligence. And we, as female business owners, I think we have a competitive edge and a competitive advantage because of the unique perspective we bring as women. And statistically, there's just less of us around. But how do you see your own feminine intelligence? And you can take that to mean whatever you want it to, but how do you see that informing your business practices or the ways that you run things? And what I mean by that is that to run a business, we do need a lot of heavy masculine energy. Just that's what we have to do with planning, initiation, leadership, running a staff, managing a staff, communication, and that's really, really good, and it makes you a good business owner. But how do you see the other side to it with maybe softness, creativity, flow, surrender, some of those softer things that we don't talk about. Can you kind of describe how that informs your practice as an entrepreneur?
Yes, Hilary, that's such an excellent question. I think by nature, just me and the way I'm wired, Myers-Briggs, I'm an ENTJ. I sometimes have flip-flopped a little bit on a couple of those letters. And if you know the Enneagram, I'm a 3. And so I do believe that statistically speaking, I'm in a small percentage of females that fit into those two categories. Like, I think like Myers-Briggs, I want to say is like 11% of females are ENTJs or something like that. I don't know the percentage for the Enneagram, so if anyone knows that, help me out. But so I think the way that I'm wired, it does give me a little bit of an advantage. I know you know me pretty well, and I definitely have more of that masculine energy. I'm pretty straightforward. I'm pretty blunt. I can be pretty aggressive. I'm not super fearful of things. And so I definitely think that I play into those strengths as a business owner. And I never knew that all of those strengths would have helped in running a business. So it's very interesting. But I am still very much so a female, and I have heart, and I care about things, and I want to watch everybody succeed. And so, knowing who you're getting coaching from too, like I've gotten coaching from some pretty hardcore, very straightforward, like everything's numbers, forget emotion men, and I have a business partner and a team that is mostly females. And so those strategies would not work,
They don't work.
They don't work. And so you have to be able to take your own intelligence and emotional intelligence and the softness that we have and think more outside of the box when you communicate with people, and navigating partnerships and contracts and how you want to work things so that you are also creating a climate that's going to do well for the team that you have, and so it's a fine line, and it's ever evolving, and I'll forever want to get better at it. But I've been called like a velvet hammer, or gosh, Rachel's so good at punching me in the face with love. And so I do think that I like the fact that I can love on people so much to the fact that I can be so assertive with them and giving more of that, masculine undertones, but at the same point, like I see you, I feel you, I hear you, and you're gonna also get that genuine like motherly care from me as well. But it's a fine line, and you have to know your audience, and you have to know who works for you. You have to know how they're wired. There's too many people, too many leaders that they just like read a book and think that this is the way that they're supposed to lead their team. Each person on the team is wired differently too. So I strongly believe if you do not take that into consideration, then the way that you're leading one person might be very successful, and the way that you communicate to the other person, right, in the other room, that might not be the way to do that.
So viewing people as people with hearts and brains, not just a resource, but it's an actual human there. So integrating your humanness and connecting that with their humanness.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, being a business owner with another female business partner too, right? Like we love that we get to do business together, and there's outsiders sometimes where they'll tell either one of us, you guys could go do this on your own, right? But we sometimes say, but we wouldn't want to, we like working together. I like being able to message someone or call someone or sit down with a meeting and strategize about our company, so I don't feel alone in it. Where sometimes I think a lot of men that are more wired to have full control over things, because if you look at sometimes the genealogy and stuff of how they are more wired, then that makes sense. But yeah, and that's a huge topic, right? This world's so interesting with how we look at gender nowadays. And there's probably so much that I could learn about it, but yeah, a lot of the tones of companies, if you look back to that, it all matters. So
yes, and it's so fun. I think just the other day, I think I was texting you and Carly, and I think you and Carly both have different strengths, and you make it work, and it's so fun working with the two of you and also being friends with you. I love this too, and having a female business partner as well. That's wonderful.
Yeah, very grateful for it. That's for sure.
Yeah. So it's been, I mean, we've covered a lot of topics today. Before we sign off, if you had to give one piece of advice for a female business owner or a female entrepreneur who's looking to start, build, or scale, in addition to everything we've talked about, what advice would you give to them? Or what's your one takeaway?
Yeah, my number one thing, there have been, and usually I think it depends, I do actually think age sometimes depends on this. I sometimes think people that are fresh out of grad school or something and they're looking to go start their own thing, they feel a little bit more sponge-like. But I've also interacted with some people that do have a practice and they're more at that tipping point where they want to grow it, but then they say, but I just don't know how. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you would ever let someone else like run your front desk or let someone else like do the consults. I don't know how you would ever do that, you know? And it all comes down to openness and control. And I think if you can surrender control, if you want to truly grow, truly, not just like it's a cool idea, then at some point you have to surrender control, or else you'll never be happy with anybody else on the team. So that would be it. I guess it would depend on who the audience is that I'm talking to, but surrender control for people that are just too fearful that how could you do that? I could never imagine, you know, letting someone else see a client, right? If you can't imagine letting someone else see a client, but you want to grow, you're not going to grow.
Yes.
Not very much, right? But to those sponge-like people, I would say number one thing, like know yourself, right? Know yourself, because there are people, I do believe, that are better followers, or they don't know themselves very well, but like being the driver of the boat, that might not be your strength. You might do a lot better on a team, or get people that are better than you to be on your team before just trying to like, you know, be the driver and the fisherman and this and this and this, you know. It's just, you've really got to know where your strengths lie and delegate and get people on your team to support your blind spots.
Yes. Oh, that's so wise. And the other thing I heard is outsourcing. Like find people, and I love what you said, find people that are better than you and bring them on your team, because we can't possibly do everything. And then that diversifies the types of clients you can see and the types of patients you can help, and it just is a ripple effect. So that's wonderful. And so it also points to the importance of doing our own work as therapists. We heal other, and it's also important to know self and know where limitations are and be able to understand mistakes, or understand, oh, this is how I'm showing up in relationship in my business. Is there something deeper that I need to look at with self? And that's wonderful.
Yeah, definitely knowing thyself is very key.
Yes, and it's just been so fun, because you and I we've been friends for probably, what is it, 10 years?
Something crazy. It probably is close to a decade.
Yes, and just watching the evolution and seeing how you've taken your, personally and then professionally, and from the internship to the practice to running your own ship, and then to growing and expanding and having a partner. And even from my perspective, I think too, I observed some more softness in you coming out after you birthed your son, because then I think you became a physical mother to a human, and then that sort of opened up to all this other space as well.
Well, thank you for saying that. Yeah, it's a continual self-improvement effort, that's for sure. And it's been enjoyable as a colleague and friend of mine as well to watch the same thing to you, almost vice versa. So again, for anybody that's listening, right, we used to joke like I'm the dude in the relationship, you know, Hilary's like the sweet, soft, like flower that's so tender and beautiful. And so it's fun watching us both,
each other out.
yeah, but kind of come a little bit more into this nice sweet spot of tenderness, but also assertiveness. And yeah, I've gotten to witness that in your professional and personal life too. So it's really fun.
Yes, thank you. I look up to you so much. You helped me to just be more assertive and independent and really set boundaries and be able to say no to certain things. And I love that we can learn from each other in that way. So it's been incredible. And it's going to continue too. I'm so excited for that.
Right? Wonder where we'll be in another decade. Goodness gracious.
Gosh, we'll see. The adventure's here. So, well, thank you so much, Rachel, for just sharing these ideas with me and with all of the people listening. And I'm so inspired by the work that you're doing and all that you're doing to help others. And yeah, how can we get a hold of you? I'll put the link to your company in the notes, but how can people reach out if they want to learn more about you, your company, your practice?
Yeah, I mean, education is one of my number one passions. I love people just learning about their options to transform their life and better themselves. And because what we do at Braincode Centers is still a hidden gem, or it's just not totally mainstream yet, it will get there. I think the more people that can even get a consult, if you never decide it's for you or it's a good fit, that's fine. At least you heard about it and learned about it, and maybe one of your friends it is a good fit for, right? So we love doing free consultations. Our consultation specialist is absolutely fantastic. Angie can answer any and every question that you have. But braincodecenters.com and filling out like a contact form. We also have an Instagram just at Braincode Centers, where we try to post a bunch of before and after brain maps and a lot of cool information just about brain health, and stories from some of our clients that are open to sharing. Yeah, those are the two main ways.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Take care, and many blessings to you.
You too, Hilary. Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, thanks.